Hello guys, welcome to today's series on IIM Kozhikode. So today we are going to look at some more RC questions. Today we are going to be looking at assumption based questions and explicit questions and also main point questions. Okay, so let's first deal with assumption based questions. So what are these assumption based questions? See, a passage is given and then under that a question would be framed saying that what assumption should the author have had in his mind while framing this particular passage or framing this particular concept, and there will be four options, right? Okay, so let's look at the definition. It's an understated idea, okay, that is true for author's argument, okay, in author's perception. So how would you identify it? You will generally find the link between the premise and the conclusion. How is he introducing and how is he concluding? So what is the link between that? What must be true for this argument to make sense? So when you're looking at the four options, this is the question that you need to ask. Which among these four would stand true for the argument to make sense? Okay, and you can use the negative test. If the statement is false, the argument collapses. So which among these four options, if false, the argument doesn't stand? So that is a negative check you can do. And things that you need to avoid are something that is very extreme or irrelevant options. Again, okay, just because you're going against something, that doesn't mean you're going to choose irrelevant options. Statements that go beyond the scope of passage, as I told you previously. Don't use common sense, don't use general knowledge, stick to the passage. Opinions or facts not directly tied to the argument. Again, something which is very far irrelevant kind of questions. Okay, so let's look at some practice passages now. Okay, many companies now encourage employees to work from home, believing it boosts productivity and improves work-life balance. They argue that without daily commutes and office distractions, workers are more focused and efficient. Additionally, remote work reduces the need for costly office space, saving company money. Okay, so here he says that working from home benefits both the company and the employees. Benefits the company by saving the space, saving the company money, electricity, water bill, something like that. And also, it would benefit the employees because it, the travel thing, one is daily commute and also office distractions like, chit chat or something like that. So the passage argues that work from home actually increases the productivity of company. Let's see the question for this. Yeah. Okay. So what is the assumption here? Employees are more productive when monitored in office setting? No, that is what he's trying to argue, right? Work from home benefits productivity. That is what he's trying to say. It's completely opposite. Office distractions are the primary reason for low productivity. Yes, this can stand as one of the assumptions that the author had while writing this, because he stated that less commute and other distractions. Employees will use the safe commuting time for work related tasks. Yeah, again, here also it is being mentioned about the transportation issue, commuting issue. Remote work leads to higher employee attrition. No, there is nothing like that. It is an irrelevant option. Okay, so B and C, they do seem to be very close, but look at the sentence here. Office distractions are primary reason. That is not mentioned. It's an extreme statement, so don't go with it. Whenever you find it is extreme in the passage, it has been given that commuting and other disturbances, okay, and other distractions in the office, right? So option C should be the answer because it's not extreme like B. Let's look at the option here. Yeah, employees will use the saved commuting time for work related tasks. Remote work improves productivity. Employee will not misuse the saved time from working, but will instead focus more on work. Okay, yeah. Let's look at passage 2. Governments should provide financial incentives to people who adopt solar panels. These incentives will encourage more households to switch to renewable energy sources, thereby reducing carbon emissions and helping fight climate change. Okay, so The author argues that when you provide financial incentives, people will adopt solar panels. And with these panels, we'll have renewable energy, right? And we reduce carbon emissions. Okay, so these are like the main points. Let's look at the options. Okay, people are unaware of the benefits of solar panels. No, that is not discussed. That is not discussed. Solar panels are the most effective form of renewable energy. Yes, okay, this might be true, but it is out of the passage. Yes, solar panels are very effective. The passage is promoting renewable energy, but it is not discussing about whether it is the most effective form or the least effective form, or how much effective is it. Okay, that's not being discussed. Climate change cannot be controlled without government intervention. This is completely irrelevant. Financial cost is a major barrier. See, that is why he's talking about incentives, right? He says that if government gives incentives, what happens? People will buy more of the solar panels, thereby producing more of renewable energy. So yeah, financial cost is a major barrier preventing people from installing solar panels. Because he assumes this, he is saying that let's give them incentives, right? Yeah. The argument rests on the idea that financial incentives will influence behavior. This only makes sense if a cost is significant obstacle. The money is the main reason. Yeah, right. So we have the same explanation here. Let's move. Okay. So now let's discuss about the main point questions. These are very, popular kind of questions. You must have had them since your +1, like that, right? So the main point is just the central idea, okay, primary argument of the author. So how would you identify it? You can skim the introduction and conclusion. You can look for repeated ideas or themes, supported examples and facts, okay, and always avoid the choices that are too narrow or too broad, too vague, okay. Yeah, you can ask yourself this question: if I want to summarize the whole passage in one sentence, what would that be? Common traps to avoid: picking a minor detail, choosing a fact-based option, falling for emotionally strong but irrelevant choices. That does happen at times. Okay, we have to be careful. Let's look at some examples now. The explosion of information online has created an illusion of knowledge. People often mistake access to information for understanding. Reading headlines or social media summaries may provide fragments of facts, but without deeper engagement, genuine comprehension is lacking. To truly know something requires effort, reflection, comparison, and analysis, not just exposure. So, the main point here is it's not about the exposure, it's about the effort you put, the reflection you get there, and the analysis, right? That's what he's trying to emphasize here. Let's look at the question. Okay, social media is a poor source of news. No, that's not the main point. Okay, it might be some underlying point, but it's not the main point. Online information is more dangerous than helpful. No, it's not even near to that. People don't read newspaper anyway. This is completely irrelevant. I think this question is pretty easy to eliminate. Information access must be paired with deeper thinking to create understanding. Yes, this is quite easy, I can say, right? Because elimination has been very easy here. So yeah, generally main point questions are easy, but only when you encounter some lengthy passages you will find it difficult. See, always try to see there is difference between choosing a title question, and there is a difference between choosing a title question and the main point. When it comes to title, you will look for the maximum scope, which option is covering the maximum scope. When it comes to main point, you are looking for the core argument. You're looking for the core argument. Go for that. Okay, instead of scope. Remember that. Let's look at passage 2. Some researchers argue that spending time in nature can improve cognitive performance. Experiments have shown that people who walk through forests or spend time near water score better on memory and attention tasks than those in urban settings. It is believed that natural environments provide a mental break from overstimulation, allowing the brain to reset and recharge. Okay, so the nearer you are to nature, the more is the cognitive ability of your brain. Okay, that's the main point. let's see. What are the options? People should avoid city environments entirely. No, that is too extreme. Okay, whenever you find such things, it's too extreme. Being near water is more beneficial than walking in forest. Exposure to nature environment enhances mental performance. City life is responsible for mental. These two are completely irrelevant. Being near water is more beneficial than walking in forest. No, even though these aspects are discussed, there is no comparison between, being near water and walking in forest. But yeah, look at C. Exposure to natural environment enhances mental performance. That's what is being discussed in the passage, right? So C would be your answer. Yeah. Right? Okay, now let's look at explicit question. See, explicit question is nothing but which is something that is directly stated. This is pretty easy. So let's just do a little practice with two passages here. Okay, over the past decade, podcasts have become a dominant form of media, reshaping how people consume news, entertainment, and education. Their rise is largely attributed to their flexibility. People can listen while commuting or cooking or exercising. Unlike traditional radio, podcasts are on demand, allowing listeners to choose from a vast library of topics, genres, and voices. Furthermore, podcasting has a relatively low barrier to entry. Anyone with a smartphone and an idea can create content, leading to a democratization of media production. However, this growth also raises concern. The lack of editorial oversight means that misinformation can spread unchecked. Additionally, with so many podcasts available, discoverability becomes a challenge. Many high-quality shows struggle to reach audiences. Despite these drawbacks, the podcasting boom has fundamentally changed the media landscape, offering a personalized, accessible alternative to conventional formats. Okay, so the whole passage is about podcasts and how they are blooming. Let's look at a question now. According to the passage, what is one reason podcasts have become so popular? Okay, they're heavily regulated and professionally curated. No, something opposite of that. They offer live news updates from verified sources. No, again, no. Obviously, both of them. The exact opposite is being happening, right? They are produced only by major media houses. No, anyone with a smartphone and some idea can produce that. They allow people to listen while doing other activities. Yes. Accessibility has increased, right? Because just you can put in some earphones and you can do whatever work you want and you can keep listening. That is why they have spread, they have bloomed, right? So this is pretty easy, I guess. Yes. Okay. Yeah, doing anything, they can just access this podcast. Let's look at one more passage. In the animal kingdom, cooperation is not always a product of kindness. Biologists have long observed that behaviors which appear altruistic, like meerkats taking turns standing guard, are often driven by self-interest or evolutionary advantage. When a meerkat watches for predators, it isn't sacrificing itself purely out of goodwill. By taking a turn, it signals its reliability to the group and increases the odds that others will do the same when it's feeding or resting. This mutual benefit ensures the group's survival. Similar patterns are seen in vampire bats, which share food with unrelated individuals who have helped them in the past. This system of reciprocal aid, known as reciprocal altruism, highlights that many cooperative behaviors have evolved because they offer long-term advantages to individuals. Thus, what looks like generosity in nature often boils down to strategy and survival. So, it's not just about altruism, but it's about a mutual benefit. That is what the passage is trying to say. Let's look at the question here. According to the passage, what is reciprocal altruism? Okay, that is our question here. Animals' willingness to help only close relatives? No, because we have seen the example where bats and other animals share food. A system in which animals donate resources without expecting anything back? No, obviously there is mutual aid. That is also, some examples are given for that. The practice of animals offering help in exchange for immediate food? No. It's not just about food, but it's also about safety sometimes. So we are left with the option cooperative behavior based on expectation of future return. That is what the passage is about. Mutual benefit, right? It's about survival. So option C would be your answer. Okay, yeah. So guys, these are some of the most common and top models when it comes to reading comprehension. I'm telling you again, in exam you will be having longer passages, but these videos are for the strategies that you need to apply. It's not just about the length. Okay, so I hope we have covered a good number of RC questions. If you think I missed any other questions in RC, you can comment below this video and let us know. Thank you for watching.